Hey everybody, Jamie back with Heroic Scale Gamers. From buying your first box of minis and paint to being a competent player on the table, we got you covered. This is step 3 of our transport vehicle for our Harlequin army that we purchased. We're going to show you some pictures again of what it looked like originally. We bought it and we're rescuing it. We're basically using this series to show you all of the steps necessary to take it from that to a finished product, which is kind of what we have here. So essentially the first two were painting the undercoat so that we can get to this step here. So what we're doing now is I've actually masked off the model. So the tape is going to be where the blue is going to show through after I'm done painting the whole entire thing black. So this step here, we'll be using the airbrush, and we're using Monument Pro Acrylic black primer, which is perfect use through an airbrush. And essentially, we are just using this to coat over the entire model and get a nice solid black coat. We're going to cover over everything that we originally did, and then the taped areas are going to end up showing our blue that we sprayed. Now, what's nice about using an airbrush for this step is that I get a lot of control over the amount of actual primer that I'm placing onto the miniature. And I'm not using too much because we want this to be a nice thin coat. Now, one thing I almost forgot to describe is the step that I take while I'm masking this off. I actually take some matte varnish and I spray it over the entirety of the area that I'm going to be masking. And the reason that I do that is that these are very, very thin coats of paint. And I want to make sure that I'm not accidentally peeling off any of that paint when I peel the tape off. Once again, I just want to be as consistent as I can, making sure that I get primer on every nook and cranny, because we don't want any of that base coat showing. Just gonna kind of get in here. Just position that a little bit differently. There we go. Getting the underside of the weapon barrel here. Now, the other nice thing too is that you can always go in with a brush afterwards, and you can touch up any sections or areas that you miss. But the more you can get done in this stage, the more coverage you get, the easier the cleanup stage is. If you notice, I'm also making sure that I get the very edge on the underside. What's that now? Yeah, so on the underside, there's a couple of schools of thought here. Because the miniature is looked at from above, most people will actually not do as much detail on the underside. But what I find is that if you just flip her over real quick and you just kind of give it a once over on the very edges like this, you'll actually hide most of that undercarriage, and it doesn't have to be nearly as precise as you do on the top of it, because obviously that's where everyone's going to see it. But there are a couple of areas that you want to make sure you touch up, which are these vents right here underneath, because they will show through those giant holes at the top. There we go. So we're going to set this down and just take a look real quick and see how we've got it. So I've got a nice solid black coat over the entire thing. It looks like I didn't miss any spots. A couple of extra hits under there. All right, perfect. All right, so now that we've got that done, now comes the best part. Now, this is what really sets this off. I'm now going to peel the tape away, and what's going to happen is we're going to get these nice, very concise lines of that blue that was sitting underneath. I like to call this the money shot, because you can kind of see how precise that actually is. Basically, anywhere that you place the tape, as you peel that away, that blue undercoat is going to show. And every time we do it, it just looks cool. Oh, so you can see there I got a little bit of tape that's staged, so we're just going to take a hobby knife, peel that back just slightly so I can get my fingers on it, and boom, take it away. Now the nice thing about this is that if you have any spots that you would like to then go back and make black, for example, here, I'll just take a brush and I'll paint that over and we'll get that finished look. But you can see, if I bring it up nice and close, see what that actually did for the overall look of the vehicle. And it's just a nice, cool touch that takes seconds, but it's all done in the prep work. So by prepping this properly and then carefully peeling it back, you get a excellent looking finished product very, very quickly. So that's all there is for this step. The next step that we're going to work on is actually panel lining all of the black armor, using a couple of actually brush paints and to give it a more finished look. Now what's really nice is technically at this point this is now battle ready. You could put this on the table as is and it would look fine. It is more than enough, but we're going to go a little bit farther and give it a more finished, polished look. So join us for the next one.